Remember when you needed experts for everything? A copywriter for emails, a consultant for basic questions, a community for business advice. That entire economy just collapsed. In this episode of Data Beats Opinion, we're talking to Neville Medhora about the hidden revolution happening in your business right now. We're exploring why AI makes most marketing agencies obsolete, how to compete when everyone has essentially the same AI tools, and what actually matters when expertise becomes free. Let's start the show. Hey, good to have you on.
What's up, man? Good to see you again.
So we've actually known each other forever, I think. I think we met fairly early when I came into the industry. It's because you were still working at AppSumo at the time. Run me through the whole thing, and we'll figure out where we met in it.
Yeah, we probably met through the AppSumo days. So I was working with AppSumo. I have equity in the company, and I was responsible for writing all the copy. Mm-hmm. So we'd send out all these sales emails, and sales emails notoriously bad, but I was good at them. I was like, if you make them informative and interesting for people to read, then people like sales emails. So we're sending out an email a day, and then eventually hired a bunch of copywriters. But we probably met somewhere along the way there.
And then you started the copywriting course after that, right? Or was that?
Yeah, it was like a product that came out of AppSumo and then turned into its own company circa 2015 or something like that.
Okay, got it. And that's about when I had moved in here. And so then
you're still going. Yeah.
You're still doing copywriting course, although you've changed the name a little bit, which we'll talk about in a second. And then you've also got SwipeFile going on as well. And
we'll talk about how AI, I think, will eventually kill copywriting course, but enable SwipeFile. We can talk about that. That's kind of interesting.
Let's dive into that, because if we're gonna bury the lead a little bit. So what do you mean it's going to kill copywriting course? Why?
Well, if you think about the things that copywriting course was good at, it was like how to write a blog post. So basically what we teach you how to write. We were just a course, right? Here's how to write copy. Here's how to write newsletters. Here's how to write emails, etc. But then eventually we ended up being a community. So about 4 or 5 years ago, I switched to a heavily modded forum where we basically rewrite people's copy. So if you say, hey, I have an email going out, it's not doing so well, why not? You post it there. Myself, other writers that we have inside the community go in and update it, or oftentimes it's just easier to rewrite it than actually talk about it. Mm-hmm. And then it usually performs better. And then we have an office hours that we do every week. So that's what copywriting course is, those three things. And so copywriting course used to be people that there was this small level of people that wanted to be copywriters. That was the most interest and the most active stuff you found on people who want to be copywriters are like, oh, I'll go to the beach, type on my laptop and make a bunch of money, right? That's the dream that was always touted. That was never our bread and butter, but we were happy to bring people in and teach them how to freelance, because I had freelanced for years before as well. And we're just seeing that just completely go away. There was a contingency of people that came in for SEO. So they have a small recipe blog, and they would kind of do really well for blueberry, raspberry muffin recipe. And they'd rank number 1 or 2 for that, do ads, etc., affiliate links. And they would come in for those. That is completely gone. And then there's a large contingency, a large portion of the economy is this a doctor's office that has 2 offices, and they need to send emails to customers when they cancel or reschedule, something like that. And they'll come to us for help writing those emails. Well, now in the world, there's been this thing called ChatGPT and other AIs that can do a lot of that stuff for you. Yeah. Writing a blog post, not really any more necessary. You could make 1 million of them, and therefore they kind of become irrelevant. People aren't looking for blog posts anymore, right? So those things are just getting ticked off. The axe is coming for all of those, where people could just do them much better. Now, there's always a small niche of people that are in the law industry, medical industry, which is very specific or something like that, where they still need really good stuff like that. That'll come to us. But for the most part, the broad majority of that is gone. So what happened is copywriting courses shifted up the chain. So when people come to office hours, they're talking about strategy. What do I do over here? They're not saying hey, how do I change this email up a little bit? Because honestly, ChatGPT could do that pretty well. Mm-hmm. And so people keep going up the value chain. So ironically, copywriting course revenue is up with people consulting with us more, which is a weird thing. So we're seeing a lot of companies go full AI. They have a person that's writing all their stuff. They go full AI, ChatGPT for everything. Then they come back to me. They're like, Neville, why is our stuff not working? And you read through their emails, and it's kind of fluffy AI stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe in 5-10 years, like we're talking full replace, I guess, but we're just not there yet.
Right. It's really, I feel AI is very middle of the road, right? Like it's because of the way AI works, it is taking, okay, of the probabilities of the next thing you're going to say, this is the next thing we're going to say. And so by definition, it's pretty middle of the road. Sometimes you get those swings, but not often. What I'm interested.
But how about this? It's not that bad all the time because there's different types of copy. There's low-level copy, there's middle-level copy, and there's high-level copy. Low-level copy is doctor's office saying, hey, we need to reschedule your thing. AI has got that. That's gone. Yep, that is 100% gone. We don't need to do that. Mid-level copy is more like a blog post where it'll do it, but like a human taking 3 hours could still do it better. But AI is just a lot faster. High-level copy is Mark Andreessen, the venture capitalist, pontificating on Twitter about the future of AI. That's high level to me. That has not quite been replicated yet. So there are those different levels. So for a lot of places, they only need mid-level copy. Therefore, AI, perfect. They don't need groundbreaking stuff.
It's interesting because all the AI and stuff, it was trained on all of our copy. It was trained on all these websites and these brochures and these everythings. It was really interesting. We were looking at hiring a copywriter a couple of years ago, and I asked them to send over some samples. And I read through the samples and I was like, these are all AI. Like these are all 100% written by AI, except for the fact that they were from 8 years ago on the website and I could see it on the Wayback Machine. So that was their writing style. Was this very corporate, like just standard copywriting style. It wasn't meant to get people to buy. It wasn't meant for people to like expand out and to have new ideas. No, it was like, this is a product that does this. This is what it does, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, this is what all the AI has been trained on, because there's much more of this low level copywriting than there is like the copywriting that you're bringing to the table, which is this high level, this really thoughtful, conversion optimized writing, right? And so the baseline is this low level copywriting that they've just completely cut out.
Yeah, I mean, so anything involved in that mid-level writing area is just decimated. It's gone. And I would also say that it's not the most fun job in the world. So it's great when technology replaces those types of jobs.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I have a question, because you said that a lot of the people coming into the course were originally people who wanted to sit on the beach and write copy and be like, oh, and I made a ton of money, right? That kind of, that dream.
25% were like freelancer type people. Yeah.
Right. But you said that's been cut out. Does that mean that people are no longer looking for that as the dream because they think it's going to be eaten by AI? Or what's your kind of thoughts around that?
Well, here's the problem. A lot of freelancers were low level, right? There's also low level, mid level, high level freelancers, right? So the low level freelancer was someone churning out SEO blog posts. Now, believe it or not, you actually could make like a decent living, not necessarily in the United States, I would say, but in other countries by churning out these low level SEO posts, just like 500 posts that a company would order about some like random thing, right? So you could sit there and write those. It was not the most brilliant job in the world, but you could do it and make a living, right? Then there was like the mid-level freelancers that were helping people with sales and stuff like that. And they usually weren't the best writers in the world, but they at least knew some principles of like how to sell. And now AI can just basically do those low-level and mid-level things really, really well. So unless you're a high-level freelancer, you're not going to get a lot of business anymore. There's just a smaller and smaller amount of stuff that you can do without retraining.
Yeah, it was interesting. Perry, of Perry Belcher, right? I don't know if you know Perry Belcher.
Yeah, I know Perry Belcher.
Yeah, he has. Someone was showing me. He's in his mastermind course or whatever it is, his high dollar consulting thing, and he was showing that he trained an AI on all of his copy and with all of this stuff, and you can go in and write a Belcher sales email or write a sales page, and it's structured correctly, it's formatted correctly. It's like he wrote it. And it was just fascinating to me that I think a lot of the AI schlock that comes out is because it's not trained on anything of quality, right? It's trained on the base level. But if you have a corpus of your own stuff that you then train the AI on, I think that you get much better results. And what I've seen it be is a thought tool, right? Because of that.
There's still this like gap. And trust me, I use ChatGPT projects and everything to train on our own stuff. And it's not necessarily the writing style. That's right. Like when you say like write like Gary Halbert, it'll sound like him. Right. If you say like write Dr. Seuss, it'll sound like him. It has that down. The thing that it's good to do those types of things, like the writing style, but coming up with the idea or the main idea of why someone would find this interesting still seems to be better done by humans rather than LLMs at the moment, right? This all changes in a few years. So there's still like that gap where people will use AI and at first there's like, holy crap, it wrote a good email. But the thing is you do it like 5, 10, 16, 20, 50 times and you start to notice like there's something missing. It's still actually pretty hard to like describe exactly what it is missing, but it's like people stop paying attention to your writing.
It's interesting because it's part of the humanity of it, like you said. It's part of creating an idea that is not the obvious thing. In copywriting especially, you don't want the next obvious idea. You want to take the reader in an interesting direction, and AI just can't do it. One thing that I've seen with AI that's fascinating, though, is kind of a reality distortion field about AI when the copy comes out. So I use this for thought stuff. I use this for sometimes I'm trying to rewrite a letter, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Everyone uses AI. When it comes out the first time, I'm like, that's really good. And then I'll stick it away and I'll come back to it tomorrow. I'm like, that's pure crap, right? Like there's something about when it comes out of the chat for some reason that makes you think, oh yeah, that's pretty solid. And then when you go back to read it and really start digging into it, you understand that there's logical holes, there's data holes, there's like, it doesn't have any humanity to it. Like there's all these problems with it, but there's something about it when it just comes out that makes it feel like it's so much better than it is. And I don't know what.
Well, the number one, so we see this a lot because we just have a forum where people are just constantly blasting copy at us and we're reading it. The number one way I can tell with AI is if I read a lot of stuff, like a lot of length, and I don't understand what the hell they're talking about. I'm just like, what is this? Like,
what's the point?
I don't get this. Yeah. Like, well, I know there's a lot of words and they're all structured correctly, but I don't get what you're talking about. And they always go, oh yeah, it's AI. But here's the thing. I mean, I think AI is great. I'm not like against it by any means. And I do think these gaps will be closed as time goes on, but they're not currently closed. And so I do think what I've seen is like getting a first draft with AI started gets rid of the hardest part of writing, which used to be like writer's block, right? They used to be a big thing. People are like, I don't know how to start. What do I do? Is there a framework to follow? Now it's just like, just tell ChatGPT to do it and then modify that. Right? That's kind of like the easy way to do it now. And it usually gets it pretty good. The other thing that you could do is with ChatGPT projects or any sort of like memory type thing it has, you can give it your website or a lot of your examples that you've used. So wins that we've had, like people like they use copy and it makes a lot more money, or a lot of testimonials, and put that in there and have it stored. So whenever it writes copy, it actually takes real examples from your work. That's another easy way to make your copy a little bit more relatable. Yeah.
And this is one thing why I think that I have two real big thoughts about AI. And one is that it enables people who already have a corpus to do better because they already have that corpus, like you're saying, of all the testimonials so you can pull from real examples. Like it makes that drafting process so much easier and better. And the second one is I have noticed there's people that believe in AI as the end all be all, and they will take whatever comes out of AI at face value and be like, yep, that's it. That's the copy that we're going to use. And then there's people who take that and say like, this is a rough draft. This is the outline. This is the starting of where I'm going to go with it. This is the thought process, and then take that somewhere else. And that's really also the quality difference I've seen between people who just kind of shove it into AI and take whatever comes out and someone who's using AI as a tool.
Well, what I've used as a sparring partner for like research is more of a research partner than a writing partner. And I've noticed when I just kind of raw dog the copy just on the page by myself on an empty Google Doc, it ends up coming out a lot better than if I use ChatGPT first, because then it molds my thinking and then I'm kind of like writing around it. Whereas like I probably wouldn't have started out like that. But here's the main thing: examples. examples have always been the bane of my existence, because if I am writing a topic on like, we were talking about this before, like name changes, brand changes over the years that went good or went bad, I have to think off the top of my head, like you mentioned, Infusionsoft to Keep or ConvertKit to Kit, AppSumo to Sumo. But then I start like crapping out on some of the examples, and they're all my own personal examples. Whereas if I ask ChatGPT, give me a bunch of examples of rebranded things and the dollar amounts associated with it, it goes and reads, blah, 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 puts it all together and gives me a bunch of them. So that kind of thing is really, really helpful with AI. It's just like using it as a research partner, or give me 50 bullets of why this is interesting, right? And then you see those little bullets and you take it. So like that human AI hybrid writing is like very, very common now, but letting it completely drive the train, I've noticed, just ends up going badly still.
It goes off
unless it's low or medium level copy. You want to output a random blog post just for the sake of it, which I don't even know why you would do that anymore. It makes no sense anymore. Then yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. And like, again, we're at, I think, a different level than the standard usage or anything like that. But I don't understand people who still search for blog posts and read blog posts. Like, I'm not looking at that anymore, almost ever.
What if someone is documenting like their journey or something they did specifically, that's something you can't get from an AI, right? That's the stuff that AI wants to read because it wants that example. So that I can understand. Like Substack, when you're reading someone's Substack or newsletter and they're writing all of it and they're saying, hey, I went out this weekend and did this. That's interesting.
It's interesting though, because I read that stuff all the time, but I never search for it on Google. I either know of the Substack person, or it's been curated through some sort of, it's on Reddit, or it's on Hacker News, or it's on some curation platform that I'm reading. But there's no there's no way for me to find interesting things on Google. And when I search for Google, I'm either searching specifically for what I want already, or if I'm not, then I'm going to be getting a lot of SEO optimized pages for products. And that's it at this point.
Well, I mean, there's some pros and cons of some of like the ways that the social networks have gone, all the algos, where it's like the TikTokification of everything, where it's just like the stuff that does really well will get blasted out to everyone. You could have one follower, but get 100 million views. Before, if you had 10,000 followers, you got at least 10,000 views on all your videos. And now it's just flip-flopped. You have 10,000 followers, you may get one view on your video if it's not good. And so the good part about that is you casually scroll the internet and all the best stuff just pops up according to the algorithm, the best stuff. Whereas before, I mean, you grew up in the age of also, same as me, of like with blog posts, you had like an RSS feed or like a favorites button.
Favorite
and I would click through every blog and be like, nope, they didn't update. Nope, they didn't update. Nope, they didn't update. Ooh, new blog posts, right? So it was kind of fun to find stuff like that. But the problem was, if you're a creator, discoverability was very difficult back then. And now it is easier. You could argue harder or easier, just depending on which way you look at it. But the possibility of you writing a really banger piece or making a great video or a great thought and that going viral is very high now, whereas before that was like almost impossible.
Yeah, because you're not limited by your existing audience. You're limited only by the speed in which something gets pushed up the algorithm. And then hopefully that does create your own network.
Well, there was a big, we were both like involved with like SEO and stuff like that, of course. And we both understand SEO. There's a new thing called AI SEO, or, there's a bunch of different names.
AEO, they're still trying to find a name on it.
I don't like AEO. I'm like, well, use AI in there, AI SEO. I don't know. Anyways, there's a bunch of different names. These names come and go. And the funny thing is with AI SEO, people are like, well, how do you get ranked? And it's like, ironically, it's just like by ranking number one in SEO, you get ranked. It's kind of like, it's like everything's changed, but nothing's changed at all. And if you just keep putting out good content, you get ranked.
The fascinating thing about AI SEO, though, that I have seen is that it is especially weak to old style SEO tactics. So like listicles, it loves listicles, and we're in a bunch of listicles. And so we're in the top 5. Whenever anyone asks about marketing analytics or something, we consistently come up because we're in so many dang listicles all over the place. And
it's so funny how nothing's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like listicles are worthless for people now, but they're really good for AI because that's the way that AI knows to rank things.
Well, the other thing we noticed with AI is because ChatGPT is my number 2 and on copywriting course, number 3 traffic source. And then Gemini it's very difficult to track these accurately. So I'm kind of going based on what I can see in my analytics, but we're getting a lot of traffic from ChatGPT, meaning we're getting ranked in AI SEO. But the traffic is good, like really good, like YouTube level good. YouTube notoriously being like the best traffic, right? Someone watches your video, clicks, there's like a very high chance that they sign up.
Yeah.
So that traffic is really good because it's ChatGPT. They ask a ChatGPT a detailed question often, and then it said, Neville's your guy, or copywriting course, or SwipeFile. They go there, and then they're like, okay, well, ChatGPT said this is good, so I'm going to look at it.
And it's interesting because you get the recommendation engine that you would get from an influencer or from like being in the New York Times or something like that, except it's just through AI. But for some reason, it has the same amount of, maybe not the same, but close to the same amount of value add from AI as it would from a blogger that I follow or something like that, which is really fascinating to me. We get a ton of those as well. And they all go either straight to trial or straight to demo. Like there's very little traffic that comes from AI that, like you're saying, is just kind of a looky-loo that never does anything. Like they
is
always
SegMetrics still benefiting from a lot of SEO?
SEO, we're actually doing better at SEO now than we have been traditionally. We still get really good. We get good SEO search. We get good AI. It's interesting, though. I think Google may have completely cannibalized themselves with their ads. So we actually, and a couple of our customers that we've been talking to have cut all of their like bread and butter ads, like just the standard ads that they were running, and no change in traffic, no change in trials, no change in anything. And they've been refocusing that on very targeted ads in like Reddit and Facebook and TikTok and stuff like that, instead of like generic search or like generic Facebook ads, which has been fascinating to watch. But
yeah, I mean, honestly, Google has been great with this just because you're always already searching on Google. So you look at the blue links and then sometimes I'm like, just tell me what to do. And I click AI mode and go full there. And honestly, it's pretty fantastic to be honest. It does its job really well.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but I have started relying on their AI overviews and stuff a little bit more than I'm comfortable with, to be honest. Like,
yeah, I always try to think like, okay, like don't be a dinosaur, right? It's like, oh, I like doing that. It's just like you like the way of like doing a lot more work to figure out the answer. Like that's just not going to survive.
Yeah,
or it will reduce at least.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you see a kid search, they're just going to click AI and be like, I'll just let it tell me. Like I'll let it read all the links for me and then tell me what to do.
Yeah, my kids, like we watch this a lot, but like they are using AI to help them understand their homework and stuff, and like not do my homework for me kind of stuff, but like my daughter's studying constitutional law right now, and she's 15. Some of the examples are really hard to understand, and she's like, "Dad, what does this mean?" I'm like, "I have no idea." So she's like, ChatGPT, what does this mean? And then it's helping her understand like some of the stuff. And it's mind blowing to me because back when I was a kid, and even now I just kind of stare at it and go like, that's a thing. I have no idea what it means.
Yeah. I mean, the customizable AI stuff it's really interesting because we're building stuff at SwipeFile behind the scenes, like software. And it's kind of interesting because you build stuff and you're like, wow, this is really cool. But you're also like, this can just be done with ChatGPT. Like you don't need a piece of software.
I want to dive into SwipeFile a little bit because because SwipeFile I think is probably one of the best ideas on the planet. I actually when I had first heard of SwipeFile, I went back into a system that I had made back when we were doing the agency thing, where we just signed up for all of these newsletters with a special email address for each one, and then put them all into a database. And I looked again like last week. It's still running after like 8 years. It's just tossing everything into a database one after another for 8 years. But it's like got all of like Evan Pagan's emails and like Ramit Sethi's emails, just collecting them all. But that's why I loved SwipeFile so much, is that it has all this great copy. So how are you had said that AI is going to make it even better. What does that look like? How is it doing?
Yeah, I've had the SwipeFile domain for years now, and and SwipeFile.io before that. I just could get the .com till a few years ago. And the thing is, it's always just made like $300 to $1,000 a month in Google Ads. That's how it was supported. And it should just be called like stuffneville.thinksiscool.com. Like it's basically me browsing on the web, and I'm on my phone a lot, scroll a lot of social media, a lot of Reddit, a lot of Twitter, a lot of X, et cetera. And I see ads or a cool graph that's like represented, like, what Gen Xers want to be when they grow up. And it's just a cool graph. And I'm like, interesting. I don't know what I'm going to do with that now, but I want to save that, right? So I just kind of like used to bookmark all this stuff. And then what happens is you have like 1,000 bookmarks and you're like, well, how do I use it? So the best way to do this is Pinterest, right? So I basically built like a Pinterest knockoff. It was like a WordPress site that looked like a Pinterest thing. So that's what it was. And I can categorize stuff based off ads, print ads, copy, good headline, inspirational, all that kind of stuff. And so when I would work with clients, I would always say, oh man, there's a great page that you should copy your sales page off of. It's a similar company. It's called crap. And I would forget. Right? Because I don't remember everything in the world. And so I started SwipeFile to do that. So I take pages I thought were cool and be like, that's a neat page. Just save it. So then I could go click on sales pages. And it's all the sales pages that I liked. And I made this free for everyone, and people used it. People liked it. But it was never more than that. It never like could grow beyond that. That was the thing. It was stunted. It's just like the idea wasn't big enough to be its own thing. So in comes AI. And I'm like, well, what can we do with all these ads? So now if you go to SwipeFile, a lot of them they'll have like different modules. But what would happen is we pull trends. So let's say there's an ad for an authoring company, and you could say like, become an author, and what's the trend on that, right? So that'll come up automatically. We can pull all that stuff with AI. We can have element detection. So the picture gets sliced up, and the Gemini is really good at this, element detection on the page. Like this is the headline, this is the subheadline, this is the text, this is the left border, whatever. It knows all that kind of stuff. We could do heat maps. That's another thing that used to be very difficult to do. We do eye tracking heat maps. And then we could pull all the colors out of the page. And we could do this all for like, 0.00002 cents per post, right? Like to update the whole site with all the AI stuff costs us like under $20, right? If we were to do like 4,000 posts. Right. And that's just getting cheaper. Like every 3 months, like the prices go down, better model, et cetera, right? So it just keeps getting cheaper and cheaper. And all that stuff, like I can't sit there and analyze a random ad forever. It just doesn't return me anything. So I can't sit there and do that. It's not worth it to hire someone. But if AI starts doing it
for $20 for the entire day, yeah.
So with SwipeFile, that's what's happening. So there's all this AI stuff. So what we're doing right now, the last 2 weeks, if you go to SwipeFile right now, like some of the titles are like a little funky. They're like a little strange. So like here's an ad that says get to inbox zero without typing, some ad. And it says achieve inbox zero with eye-catching visuals and clear messaging. It's an AI title, right?
Right.
And then it's the subtitle is like really AI-ish, right? It uses incorporating color psychology and bold headlines. This is a superb SwipeFile candidate for marketers aiming to communicate efficiently. That doesn't do anything. Like that's not what I would write. So we're doing a thing where I'm finding all the ads and all the stuff to put in here, but it's 100% AI taking over after that. 100%. The problem is the first generation of this is kind of sucky. So we're tuning everything to be like, write more like Neville did, train yourself on these old ones, pull out all the bullet points of what's interesting. So when you direct it to do something very interesting, specific, AI is actually really good. So if you say, why would someone use this inbox zero ad? Like what is the cool thing happening here? And in bullet points, it lists it out. So now we can actually get a really rich page off of one screenshot Neville takes while he's browsing Reddit and sees a cool ad on Reddit. He can just upload it and bam, all this stuff happens in the background. So that's what's happening with SwipeFile.
Are you finding that it's better to show their old version and then the new version next to it and saying like, hey, this is what you wrote, but this is what it should really be, and here's why when you're doing that training? Or is it essentially just like, ignore the old one, here's what you should be doing?
So we could do any of those things, but here's the problem. It's like, what's useful for people, right? So they see an ad and they go, that's a cool ad. Maybe I could use it on my site. What's useful for them beyond that? Like reading 3 pages of why this ad is good. Is that helpful? Because like AI can generate you 3 pages of crap to put out.
Yeah.
The problem is that we notice that like people aren't reading that. They're just like, okay, I see the ad, like I got some bullet points. That's all I need. So I think what's interesting is like the trends is kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. So you can see like email marketing and it's like going up the roof and you're like, huh, that's an interesting thing. You tags. So it says ads, images, social media. So then people can click social media, get other ideas. So our goal with SwipeFile is you come here, if you have like a problem you're working on, like a headline or something, you click the headline section and then you get an idea and then you leave. Like that's kind of the goal. The most ideas per minute that we can get you. And so the AI tools that we're building are kind of around that. And then it's funny, a lot of the AI tools we built were just like, honestly, someone could just take, copy and paste this ad into ChatGPT and say, write it for me. Like you don't really need our software to do that. So a lot of the tools we've built are just all internal stuff to help us build content on the pages.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure you're seeing that a lot of people doing a lot of AI tools and it's just like, there's no stickiness to them.
It really isn't. I mean, it's really the Wild West right now where there's all these AI tools. Remember when it was all video editors? Like everything was an AI video editor, and that seems to have died down. Or maybe I'm just not seeing them as much anymore. But I feel like it's just, everything is just a wrapper around AI at this point. And everyone has an AI something. And soon it's going to start filtering out to like, okay, what are the actual useful ways to be using AI for all this stuff that's not just like, just have AI for AI's sake, right?
Well, I mean, you're saying that there's AI video editors. They're just called video editors now. They're not called AI video editors.
Like they're not pushing it as much.
CapCut's just a video editor, but it uses AI for all the stuff.
Yeah.
Or whenever I record long form podcasts, we use Autopod on Adobe Premiere. It's AI podcast editing, so it goes you, me, the wide camera, all that stuff. It's just part of the workflow now. Like we don't even think about that. Like that's not even a thing anymore. We don't think about it like that.
And that was what, 4 months ago? 5 months ago? That was.
But that happens with every technology, though. I mean, you grew up with cars. You never thought that one day, like someone saw a car for the first time was blown a freaking way, and now we're just so used to it. Or like your car has air conditioning. You're like, everything has air conditioning, but that blew people away at one point. Yeah. Having an incandescent light and seeing a light at night that wasn't a fire was a big deal.
When my grandmother was born, there were no commercial airlines. Like there was no commercial flight that you could take when my grandmother was born. Like,
and now just like flying, you just grew up with it. So it's just one of those things. Like the next generation will be like, of course it does all this. Like, what do you mean? Like computers can do crap for you.
This comes into something because it is changing so fast. And I think especially for people who have been doing marketing a long time and who have been building these things for a long time, it is so different. Like when I think of a content engine now, the format of it is so different from how I would build a content engine 5 or 10 years ago. So if you were to start like a content engine today and be like, okay, we need to start a content engine for this business, what kind of assets would you look at? Like, what would be your flow? Would it be video? Would it be AI blog? What is it at this point?
I mean, I think it 100% totally depends, like on the business, right? If you give me an actual example, I could tell you, but also a lot of this content stuff, it's almost like it completely, for example, writing blog posts was something I grew up on and got really good at. And now I think like if a company were to just write a bunch of blog posts, you're just like, what? Like, I don't think that's not like a marketing tactic anymore. There's just so much more that people could do. There's just a lot more ways that you can get the word out as well. I mean, back 20 years ago, ads, there's probably like Google AdSense, maybe Facebook ads were around or something like that. There's a couple ways you can get the word out, but now it's all changed. There's podcasts, there's all sorts of different types of stuff. So I'd say depending on what it was, if it was like a B2B product or B2C product, like creatine gummies or something like that, maybe ads would be the best way, influencer programs, that kind of stuff. It's B2B. I mean, I would start going to conferences, trade shows, like just like old school in-person stuff. Yeah. I mean, B2B still works over the phone, right? Like no one signs a B2B contract online or anything. They're not like, buy now, add to cart. It's always
$10,000, right?
Yeah, no. Yeah. So right now it might just be like a web page or something like that, just to have it with like a Calendly scheduler on it.
I was going to say, do you think people still need that bread and butter, like blog posts and social posts and stuff like that? Is that kind of a dying breed at this point? Or do you need a website with like, hey, this is what we did this week kind of thing, and like our bread and butter SEO stuff? Like, is that dying? Is that still valuable? Is that something that you just have to have?
Here's the thing. Blog posts can last a long time. They're not quite as quick as like a Twitter post or something like that. Mm-hmm. So if you posted something on Twitter, it's like you get all the action in the first 36 hours and it like dies down. Right. You never see it again, right? A blog post can actually gain over time. So it's like the standard thing is like, if you actually have something interesting to say, a blog post can help, but you're probably not going to get ranked by Google quite as much. So I'd say if you are really good at content, you could still write blog posts. The problem is they're very hard to write compared to just like putting about a bunch of shit on social media. And the cool thing is, what I tell people when they have like something very detailed that they're doing, if you make the blog post first, you then rip that blog post up into a million different social posts and always link it back there and has a place to live. Whereas if you write a bunch of like make a bunch of random Instagram posts, you can't like group them together.
Yeah, this was always my thing about, remember back when Medium was like the new hotness of blogging and everyone moved all of their site blogs over to Medium and everything. They're like, this is great. It's all discoverable and blah, blah, blah. And no one was posting on their own site. And my view of it was always like, at some point, Medium's just going to close the doors and you're going to be out all this content and you needed it on your site for the SEO and just like you're saying, that place to live. And lo and behold, what do? They put everything on Mediums behind a wall at this point. And so you don't have
and all the social media platforms are like that too, besides YouTube.
Yeah, Twitter, you have to be logged in to see it. Yeah, everything's logged at this point.
Yeah, there's too many AI scrapers out there, so that's why they do it.
Yeah, and I agree. I think you need a place on your site for things to live. And I also agree that it is the long play. It's not, you're not going to have that blog post get uber viral or anything like in a week unless you're super, super lucky. But
yeah, I mean, the thing is to start quick, like if you're trying to figure out what niche you want to be in or something, like post on social, interact with people on social. That's the fastest way to engagement, right? Just posting, quote tweeting, posting on LinkedIn, interacting with people. That's the fastest way. And then if you find a niche you want to really go in and you want to spend some money on it, then I think making a website is the way to go. I used to say start a website first, and now I don't think that's the way to go. The website's often just a distraction.
Do you think that YouTube is becoming a replacement for that as your place to be? Because I've seen YouTube search overcoming Google search for a lot of things for us recently. And looking at my own usage, I'm generally looking on YouTube for how-tos and recommendations and stuff like that more than I search on Google for it. Or if I'm searching on Google, it's for YouTube or Reddit.
Well, if I'm looking up like how to analyze a page on SegMetrics, I don't want to look at a blog post. Just show me the YouTube video where you're like showing me the damn thing, right? Like it just makes a lot more sense. I mean, here's the thing. The content creation game has got a lot harder. It's you used to be able to post like an image on Instagram, right? Like that's just like almost like a fantasy now. Like you have to do so much more. You have to become a whole media company. So on one hand, you have to do a lot more. On the other hand, the tools are getting better to do a lot more, right? So there's schedulers. I use Buffer to post on every social platform, that kind of stuff. So you kind of have to become your own little media company is what I've seen. So when people say, what's the best platform? It's just like, well, preferably all of them, but you probably pick a main platform and then cross distribute from there to gather, like let's say Threads come out and now you're like, now I got to post on this. It's just like, just cross tweet
it's just the
from
same
there
thing as
like,
what you did for Twitter. Yeah, exactly.
And then you'll see over time, maybe it catches on, maybe it doesn't. Like we weirdly get a lot of traffic from Pinterest still.
Interesting.
That's kind of, like Pinterest almost acts like SEO, that over time, certain posts will rank high and send you a lot of traffic. And it's like a really bad hit rate, but at the same time, since we're just buffering it and putting it up there, it costs us no extra time. So it's like you have to post everywhere. It is a bit of it's a tougher thing now, right?
Yeah.
I think you'd agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you have to stand out a lot more. And like you're saying, like you can't just throw up an image anymore. All right, I have to craft a video and I have to make sure it looks semi good, or at least it's engaging, right? There's so much more that goes into that, I feel.
15 years ago, or not 15, but like when we started AppSumo, me and Noah would just do this thing called Sumo Dojo Chat or something. And we just like talk about a random thing and put it out on YouTube. And we get thousands and thousands, just anything. We get thousands of views, tons of comments, lots of engagement. And there just wasn't that much content online. Now you've got like Elon Musk, Joe Lonsdale, all these like billionaires, like Mark Zuckerberg giving interviews. It's like, instead of like us down here, not demoting us, but just saying, it's just like, there's like crazier people in the world doing podcasts and video. You have to compete with that, right? So that gets harder. So it used to be someone could talk about like, hey, I'm just going to talk about AI and what I experience and get a ton of views. But now it's just like, you know, you got like Ilya Stutzgar or whatever, like the guy who created all the LMs talking about AI. You're like, I'd rather listen to that guy than this person who doesn't have hands-on experience.
Listening to them is fascinating. Like it's crazy listening to them.
Yeah.
But I agree. And what's interesting though, is that, so I'm a huge dork and I got into some D&D segmented podcast things and stuff, like really niche, like even within the D&D ecosystem, like some really niche things. And it's still those people. It's still people like just they just have a camera pointed at them and they're just talking and there's no real thing about it. And it's fascinating if you niche down far enough, there still is that there's no owner of that niche. Right. And so there is that space for people to play when you're not trying to hit the entire vertical. And that has been fascinating to me. However, I did try the just two guys talking about marketing and like stuff in general. Did not go well. Like it was not.
Yeah, there's just so many more options now. There's just a lot more options now. It used to be anyone had a podcast and people would just sign up just because like there just wasn't enough podcasts. Now it's like the opposite.
I was doing some research on funnel videos and just like how to position funnels. And I ranked by number of views. And other than the ones that were like very obviously like gamed, that had, there was like 4 videos that had like 10 million views each. And they were just just schlock. They were just absolute shock. But the next one up was Russell Brunson from ClickFunnels. And it only had 150,000 views. And it's been up for like 8 years. And I'm like, this video, who's really well known, this is a huge market, but it still only has 150 views. So it's like you said, like there's so much to see there and it's so spread out. And there's tons of videos at that rank level, but no one's hitting those 1 million or 2 million views for that type of content within that niche, which was fascinating to me.
Well, my buddy Noah, he was growing his YouTube channel. He wanted to hit 1 million subscribers. That was just the metric. He just wanted to like do this experiment. And he had money to spend, so he hired a whole team and everything. And the interesting thing is he would do videos he thought were interesting and that like meant a lot to him and would get 13,000 views. Now, that may be a lot for some people, but when you have a team of people and you're spending $500,000 a year on their salary, 13,000 views is hella bad. So he had to go for the bangers. And the thing is, the bangers were like knock on yachts and ask how they got rich, right? Yep. Or knock on millionaires' doors. And so he goes to a neighborhood with big houses and was like, hey, how'd you make your money? And then, you know, like 9 out of 10 people are like, get out of my house. Like, what are you doing? But then one person would be like, oh, I actually made it like this. And then they capture that interview. And those are the things that got a lot of views. But I think when you optimize for views, the problem is like, do those people convert to AppSumo customers for him? You know, like it's really one, it's like impossible to tell. You run SegMetrics, you know how hard it is to track stuff online. iOS 14 update, all the stuff that happened with Facebook, with the ads tracking stuff. Google's more private about everything. You almost can't track any of that. Like, do those people end up buying? I have no idea. Like they're all private. So unless you just ask people, that's the only way you can figure that out. So with all these videos going out, it's really difficult to track if people are finding you. But I do think that, like, I mean, I watch all these videos with like Ross Hudgens of Siege Media. I don't know if you know him, but he runs a big company called Siege Media, their SEO company. And he, a long time ago, decided not to go like the full, like how to do SEO and rank #1 in Google. He was like, we're not going that route. We're looking for like the CMO of Nike who's going to spend $10 million a year with us. And he's not typing in SEO 101, right? This is a high level person. So they have these very, very like detailed conversations that are like really good, but you'll get like 300 views on them. He's like, it doesn't matter. Like we get 2 of those as clients. That's $20 million. Yeah. So I mean, I do think that there is a world where it's just like this view thing is like overrated. And then on TikTok, I mean, like, man, do you remember when Facebook video came out and they got like sued? Some class action lawsuit.
I talk about that constantly.
Yeah, and you post anything, you get like 7,000 views as a brand new creator, and you're like, oh my God. And then you're like, who are all these people liking my stuff? And it's like a lot of guys from Egypt for some reason.
Yeah.
You know, love my video and also have 5,000 likes on Facebook of other companies. And you're just like, wait, what is this? And it turned out it's just like all fake engagement, and just the number is impressive. So people are like, wow, but it's not really anyone. It's no one. It's just dead internet. Yeah, and so anyone looking at that is like gets really excited, starts using the platform, but they are so incentivized to keep you on with like those big numbers, but it often doesn't mean anything. They found like people on TikTok or that are famous on TikTok for dances, and like they can't sell a book, they can't sell shirts, they can't sell anything. Some of them can, but some of them, a lot of times they'll have these huge followings, but it's just like old users or like people forgot their login, whatever, and it's just fake engagement.
Yeah. And I think it's a big difference between B2C and B2B as well. If you're trying to sell to the general public, you're going to have a lot of views. But like you're saying, those views are not connected to the sales at all. And that's one of the things that we go into a lot with SegMetrics is like views are not sales. Traffic is not sales. Leads. Actual email addresses in your marketing system that have a chance to buy. That's what connects to sales. Anything else is just a vanity metric. Like, it's good. You should watch trends. But if you have a video that gets 1 million views, but not a single person ever clicks or connects or anything to that, then did it matter? Like, at the end of the day, what's the goal there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure this is what your company does, is like figure out what all this data means.
Right.
And I bet a lot of people, like they get all this web traffic from SEO. We used to get 450,000 visits a month on Copywriting Course. And we did a thing where we changed the name of the company from Copywriting Course with K's to Copywriting Course with C's. And it actually ended up being a Google glitch because we actually ended up contacting them. They fixed something on the actual Google algo. So that was kind of interesting. But for 8 months, we lost all our traffic. And you know what happened? Nothing. Like there was some drop off. There was some drop off, but we're just like sales were like just normal and steady. And we're like, is it all coming from the email list and YouTube and stuff? Like it was a lot of generator traffic. So we'd have like, pricing calculator and stuff. So people would come there for what they needed, use it, and then like leave. They weren't like, oh, what's this copywriting course thing? It's just very low intent, right? So there's a lot of that traffic, and I was like, God, we got so many traffic, and then you lose it, and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? Nothing really happened. And that was a really big eye opener.
Yeah, it was the same thing we saw with our ads. So, we were talking about that we turned off all of our Google ads except for very targeted things. And traffic dropped like a rock, like we assumed. We lost all that ad traffic, except we didn't lose all of it. We only lost about 50%. And so 50% of our ad traffic would have come anyways through a Google search, which was fascinating.
Yeah.
And then signups and trials actually went up. And that was also fascinating. And so we had all this ad spend we were using, and Google, of course, was saying that it was legit. And SegMetrics was saying, well, they're real people, but they're not getting the ROI. And so we made the hard decision to stop it. And yeah, things went up. And it was crazy. But I think there's so much of that. How much of it is traffic vanity? How much of it is a vanity metric that we think is real, but we don't know because we're not being able to track things as well as we should be?
Yeah. It's kind of interesting. Some people I know with really solid social followings, it's just like over the years, you can build it up. Even like my own Twitter or social accounts, if it's been around for a while, you probably just have a lot of followers. But then like, how many of them are actually real? It's like, can you fill up a room with people? I think that's the real thing. If you put out a tweet like, hey, we're doing a meetup in Austin, how many people show up? That's the real number. Yeah. That's the true power, I think.
Very much so. Yeah. And you find out very quickly that the group you thought you had does not actually exist.
Yeah. Or maybe they did at some point, but then like, I don't know, things change. I have a list of all these different people. We forget so quickly, but I have a list of all these like dead social networks. And there's been so many different social networks in our time. Like, I mean, just think about like Foursquare, Zynga, MySpace. Just like the list goes on. I remember, and then like features that were really touted. Do you remember like Google Plus?
Oh yeah,
the social network, and everyone just jumping on that. Facebook video, they went really hardcore on that. It kind of kind of flopped. Like all these different like features that everyone thought was going to be the next big thing. Everyone was going like making Snapchat stories for a while.
Yeah. Do you remember Clubhouse?
Oh my God.
Good.
Yeah, there we go. Clubhouse. People were going hard on Clubhouse, and I'm not sure what happened to that.
It imploded in like 2 months. It was
I think it was a good it was like a 2020 phenomenon. Just everyone's at home. So yeah. So I mean, one thing we notice is like communities. I think are like I've been big on communities for a long time, and I have seen even with AI, like the need for a community is even going down. So like my buddy Sam Parr has a company called Hampton, and they're all digital. And so it was all Slack. So 7 people get together, you have a core group, and you ask each other stuff. And some of the most common questions are like, well, what do you do for this situation? Where do you bank? What accountant do you use? All those things. And now with AI, you're kind of like, I could just ask that to the AI. I don't need to ask this group necessarily. And it goes and rounds up, all the answers people have and recommends stuff. And so they're going full in person. So it's a painful transition to go from full online to in person, but it's one of those things that like in a few years, in 5 years, when like AI just eats the world, it's like that will still remain.
Yeah, I had not even thought about that but you're exactly right that, a lot of the power of the community is that those recommendations and that, hey, I have a problem. And for that low tier stuff, just like the copywriting, it's all getting cut out, right? That can all be answered by AI now. And so the real problems, the real hard things are that mid to high level thing that you get more value out in person than you do online.
Yeah, it just keeps moving up the chain. I mean, people used to ask, like, how do you send out some lower level people? How do you send out your emails? Like, what do you do? And now it's just like, it's just not that hard to figure that out anymore with YouTube, with AI. I mean, that's not a question that you'll normally ask. Or if you just do like 10 seconds of research, you could probably find some good places. Yeah. But now if a larger company comes and asks a question that's a little bit more, it's like, we actually have all these issues and we send out 20,000 emails a week already, then we could help those people a little bit more. But for those lower level questions, I mean, AI is just knocking those things off.
Right. Once you have requirements that have to be met as a business, like that's when things get really difficult. And AI is generally not going to be able to give really good advice because it can't understand all the requirements and all the necessities and all the unsaid requirements of those requirements, which is why you talk to someone like you and a pro and someone who knows what they're doing with all this.
Yeah, thanks. Cool, man.
No, this has been absolutely awesome. So people can find you at SwipeFile. People can find you at Copywriting Course with C's, not K's, although you still do have the K's. And where can anyone else find you?
Yeah, copywritingcourse.com, swipefile.com. Sign up to the newsletter. That's probably the main thing. And so every Friday I send out this Swipes email, Swipe Wisdom, Interesting Picture Essay, and Splurge. That's like my main newsletter that goes out. And then you can, of course, find me Neville Medhora on all the different socials and stuff like that.
Thanks so much for joining us. And
thanks, Keith.
Have a great
Appreciate
day.
it.